Hello, this is the frequency shifter algorithm on the disting mk4. This moves sounds up and down by a certain amount of frequency, a certain number of hertz, which tends to break harmonic relationships and so sounds very different to a pitch shifter, for example. At the moment, I've just got a sine wave running through it from the disting EX here into the X input. The Z input and the Y input both give us a shift amount. Obviously not terribly exciting on a sine wave, but you can at least visualize it very clearly. Where it gets more interesting is where you give it a sound with some harmonic content. So for example, let's give it a sawtooth wave. You can see that's not the same as pitch shifting, and I'll elaborate on that. If we look on the data on the spectrum analyzer, this being a sawtooth wave at 500 Hertz or thereabouts has a very strong fundamental frequency component of 500 Hertz, and then it multiples to 500 Hertz above that. That's how most sounds that we like to hear work. When we shift it, you see everything moves by the same amount of Hertz, and now the first harmonic is no longer twice the frequency of the lower one. So say that's got up to 550, say, that's now 1050, which is not twice 550 anymore. Perhaps this will become clear as we go on. The first parameter on the algorithm is the range, which basically changes the scaling between the CV or knob position and the shift. So 0 gives a very small shift, 1, 2, 3, progressively more. So, for example, if I take our 500 Hertz tone and shift it up by 500 Hertz, then the first harmonic is now nowhere near the where it should be. It's now only 1.5 times the frequency rather than twice. And it's through zero, so if you shift things down, they'll eventually bounce through zero and come back up again. And that's where it can start getting quite clangorous. If I change the range all the way up, you can see what's going on there. Quite sci-fi. And of course you don't just have to wiggle the knob to do this. You can give it a CV into Z, or like I say, into Y. So I've got a LFO here on the disting EX. So that can sweep things up and down. Change the range, small, medium, large. Like so. If we give it a slightly more musical sound rather than just a constant tone, I've got some glockenspiely things going on here on the general CV. Let's just turn our LFO off again. We can hear it goes. It kind of tends to turn things into bells, basically. I guess a glockenspiel is kind of a bell anyway, so maybe we should choose something else. Let's try just a piano. So that's our kind of normal piano. Frequency shifted piano, no longer harmonic, no longer sounding like a piano. The other parameters we've got to play with here are, the first one is B mode. So at the moment A and B are both shifting by the same amount in the same direction. If we change this B mode to 1, then A and B shift in opposite directions. So let's find our unshifted piano, and then we'll give it a small amount of shift in opposite directions. Which can give you quite a nice kind of chorusy little thing going on. Let's especially if you stick an LFO on that. And the final parameter we've got here is include Z. So basically, this ignores Z if you turn it off. So because of the imprecision of a physical pot, it can be hard to dial in a precise null on that, say. So if you want to do some really careful frequency shifting purely by providing a CV, which has a very definite relationship between the voltage and the frequency shift, then you can turn include Z off, and now this is dead, doesn't do anything, and won't mess with your carefully selected CVs. Or turn it back on, and then you can wiggle. Let's turn that back off. So yes, the frequency shifter on the disting mk4.